fantasy, baseball statistics. Welcome into all the new subscribers. Today, I want to talk about speed and young upside. And hopefully that's okay with you, that I want to dedicate a whole day to speed and to young upside to go a little bit deeper into those players and to really round out our sheet. And before we dive into those things with a little bit of pitching, a little hitting, and some speed and some sheet review, I just want to renew our mission statement and explain really what we're trying to do here. And ultimately, we want to win leagues. We're trying to win entire championships. And I'm not just talking about having a very good team and a decent team. I want to win the entire championship. So I want to go holistically into what's happening with the process here. And the way I approach it is young upside and taking a lot of upside risk and believing in players and believing in progression and explosions through the players and collecting all those players on a team. I don't believe in balancing risk. I mitigate high-risk players, young upside players, by taking more high-risk players, more young upside players, a team of just speculation, loaded with speculation. And sure, there have been occasional seasons when it hasn't worked great. Probably Vlad Guerrero Jr.'s rookie year, I was deep in on Vlad, and it cost me. But I will get back in. There's been other seasons. I have a lot of chips in the cabinet to look at, and that's what I bring you guys along with me. But to dig in a little further, first, we have to have a team that can make the playoffs. I mean, unless this is a roto grind, the team has to get to the playoffs, and then the pieces have to fall into place, and you got to get lucky. You have to manage your team through that. That's okay. You'll be more prepared to manage your team when you understand players and you're able to hit the waiver wire really hard. Some of the pitfalls of chasing young upside, particularly in pitching, is that there might be innings limits. These guys might be getting tinkered with, but the reality is the starting pitching staff that you're going to start the season with is really unlikely to be the staff that you're going to finish with. So I'm okay to take young upside, to take some guys with some innings caps, like a Tyler Glasnow, to get the gems out of him early in the season. And if he hits a rough patch, be able to go hit waivers and pick up the next fresh arm off of the waiver wire. And what's happening here is we're grinding the statistics. I can see it in the comments. I see it from the community that you're starting to be a little bit of like a tuning fork. You can just go into a player profile and find out, do you like where the fly ball is? Do you like where the swinging strike? All these metrics just become very, very casual, very second nature. But that's why it's good to take your tuning fork and go keep circling, keep applying that helicopter strategy and moving through your list and just checking back in on players. Because what I'm finding is I need to get to know players and have a really good comfort level with the player in order to be able to draft them. And particularly in salary cap drafting, I have to want the player. I have to be stalking this player throughout the preseason like prey, so that when he comes up, I'm ready to Brandon Lowe, and grabbing those players. So we're getting to know players and we're getting to know teams. So I don't want to leave that out. I've got menus open everywhere, but let's pop over. I mentioned roster resource, but I think I have to mention it again because that's where I am spending some more time. Roster resource, recently purchased by Fangraphs. I just want to show you in there as you're clicking through teams, and I've been just periodically checking all the teams, the American League, Baltimore to Toronto, National League, Arizona to Washington. It's nice. Roster resource, they'll show you when the guys were drafted. They're showing you what they're making. They're showing you their salary. They're going through their entire minor league system. So the roster resource is robust with information. But one area I want you to just point your eye over to is that roster resource is carrying its own 2021 projections. They even give you a drop down that you could click through and check old stats, old pitch types, old information, but just the 2021 projections. And it can give you a feel like, am I even in the right ballpark with this player? I started doing it for starting pitching staffs because roster resource might be doing more ground level work than I am, knowing how rotations are going to turn out. And they have some anticipations, and these might not be right as we move through the preseason, but it's a good starting point. And you can scan over to projections on pitchers. And generally, these are all conservative, so all the ERAs are 3.52. Here I'm on the White Sox, for example, because I think the White Sox, it's an interesting team. They're going to have a very interesting year. And you can see the ERAs, they're middling. If the ERA is mid-fours, this pitcher is going to get hit a little bit. But I like to just check the strikeouts per the innings pitch. Here's a Dylan Cease. Yeah, he's going to get rocked, 4.58. But the strikeouts are 126 to innings pitch of 125. So I can see that at least conservative roster resource has a K per 9 for Dylan Cease. His K per 9 of a 1, or of a 9 Ks per 9. So I'm okay with that. It's just another thing to scan. I want you to keep moving through there. The couple of teams I would mention, besides the White Sox to really be crazy, is I just want to go to Toronto's lineup for a second as a little bit of a segue. George Springer, Bo Bichette, Simeon, Teoscar Hernandez, Lourdes Gurriel Jr., Kevin Biggio, Gurriel Jr. I mean, there are just so many unknown quantities on this team. And you wonder, are these guys going to win a pennant this year? Or are they going to underperform because they're inexperienced? We like about 6 guys in that starting lineup, so getting pieces of it, you would think that suddenly I just am a little higher on a Marcus Semien just because he's around all this action. So I just want to point you towards a roster resource to let you really get into your teams. Part of making the custom list is that, no stone goes unturned. I'm not getting caught up in what's happening with ADP, or really previously what happened with ADP. And I was going back. We've got a lot of comments from my boys, Dr. Fantasies in here, Young Guns, Daniel Halliday, all kind of pushing me to remind me of certain things. One of my favorite, probably historical comments that somebody really latched onto was, we're drafting for next year's ADP. I'm drafting this year's players for next year's ADP. We're drafting teams that are going to be entirely unattainable in 2022 because they're all going to be up in the top 10. Like last season when we were able to actually have Acuna and Tatis and Soto, craziness. That's just not going to happen anymore because they're going 1, 2, 3. So we're kind of looking at, there's a lot of speculation for that. And you've got to have a little bit of a stomach for that. Another question in the comments referred to dealing with ADP and points leagues and glaring mistakes in points leagues. And what I find is that in the scoring system for points leagues, generally certain websites have to put out lists. Yahoo, Fantrax, ESPN, wherever you're playing. They've got to put out their players based on their projections, and here it comes, and that kind of creates an ADP. Or you have pro league sites and wherever they're money leagues and things that are generating ADP, and we're just kind of following in line, and it takes a little bit more guts to break free and make your own list, and then draft off of the list that you made. Don't get caught just saying, I don't trust my list. I'm just going to take the top guy on the list, and I'm going to go with that. Be willing to grab somebody 60 places off, 80 places off, whatever it might be, to get the player that you actually believe in. So that's what we're working down here. But my thing on points leagues, and I'm doing more 10 cat, but I was in more points leagues, was that it's just power leagues. Because in the end, there's not enough speed to really have it matter in a points league for a guy who's going to take bases. 2 points for a stolen base, especially if there's -1 for a caught stealing, that's going to eat into any sort of equity that you have in stolen bases. Whereas power, as it's interpreted by points leagues, is a home run, which leads to ribby, which adds a home run is also a ribby and a run. So to me, in points leagues, you're just chasing blow-up weeks, having your infield hit home runs, having your outfield hit home runs, little smatterings of home runs on a weekly basis that just overpower players. On weeks that your power hitters don't hit that many home runs, they're not going to perform that well. But those blow-ups are essential. A player that just does 12, 12, 12, 12, 12, 12, 12 because he's stealing bases and getting on bases every week of the season is not going to help me win weeks or win leagues. I need that week that some guy hits 3 or 4 home runs and drops a 40. Just wins the league by himself. Is able to overcome other teams' staffs, their aces, their gems, whatever it might be. So, but that's not really teased out because ADP is just generated and then it just malingers throughout the preseason. And now you're hearing everything I read is ADP risers, ADP fallers. Like, that's just guys getting smarter through the preseason, finally getting into their numbers and saying, you know what? I wasn't exactly right about that guy. I got to move him. And then you see the errors in ADP being corrected. And that's fine. So there is, I did it was kind of a massive overhaul of the sheet because as much fun as we're having analyzing the nuance of fantasy baseball statistics, I want to be right. I was like, I want these guys to win championships this year. I know that we can. I see a lot of mistakes. I see a lot of players that I like. So I'm just pounding my top 150. Get deeper, yes, no. I want to be right on some obvious players that seem to be falling through the cracks. I want to pull them up a little bit, pull them up, so that even when I'm just kind of filling out my lineup, filling out my bench, I'm picking the right players. Or if I'm in a really competitive draft, I'm continuing to compete and to hit studs. So that's just kind of where we're going, getting this right. Let's jump into speed. Let's jump into putting speed onto your sheet. And so we look speed. I like to look at right in the eyes. And that means going over to BaseballSavant, going to your leaderboard, going down to, you got to scroll all the way down. There's running, and then there's 2 stats, and one of them is sprint speed. So here's pure speed. Let's talk about this list of pure sprint speed from players. Tim LeCastro, don't know who he is. Roman Quinn, don't know. Adam Engel. Okay, here it is. Trey Turner, number 4, with a 30.1 sprint speed feet per second, followed by Byron Buxton, Garrett Hampson, Tyler O'Neill, Harrison Bader. And let's stop there because those guys are about 29.4 feet per second on their sprint speed. That's just pure burner speed. So in terms of your player, to get speed, you have to be in the right position. You can't have a guy on second to take a base, so that won't matter how fast you are if the guy's on second. If it's 2 outs, if it's not the right time in the game, your manager's not going to send you. So the better chance you're going to have for getting sent is to be just so fast that it's very likely that you'll take the base. It's very unlikely you'll get caught stealing. And those guys are Trey Turner, Byron Buxton, Garrett Hampson. Let's go down just a little bit further. Harrison Bader. While we're talking about this, Tyler O'Neill and Harrison Bader, a couple of speedsters in the back of the St. Louis Cardinals lineup. They hit like 8-9. Tyler O'Neill has power. So if it were to ever come together for those guys, or if you need to hit the waivers, if you're in a deeper league, you need a little bit of speed. They should be power speed options for how fast they are, but we still haven't seen it put together by either of those guys. The number 10 guy, Fernando Tatis Jr., 29.4. Alberto Mondesi, 29.4. And I kind of skip over the names that we just don't hear about. I guess Kevin Kiermaier, but he doesn't do enough for me to really draft him. Nick Senzel, Joe Adell, 29.3. Don't sleep. Ronald Acuna Jr., 29.2. Luis Robert right there, 29.1. Trent Grisham, 29.1. Leody Taveras at Texas, who may lead off for them, maybe a little bit of cheap speed late. So how far am I willing to go down until I know that a guy is not really that fast? Mike Trout, 28.9. Let me tell you where I'm going to stop. Story can take bases with a 28.9 sprint speed. Arozarena with a 28.8. Shohei Ohtani with a 28.8. So these guys are pretty fast. Med Rosario starts to not take bases at 28.7. Kingery, Cody Bellinger, 28.6. So it's a very fine line. 28.8, it's kind of the sprint speed that I like. So if I'm going to be drafting speed, I want to draft some raw speed. And that's where I'm finding it. on the sprint speed leaderboard. And so, and when I go into my sheet to translate some of this information to your sheet, I have a couple extra columns in between each player, in between each position, SP, OF, 1B, a couple extra spots where I can put a price in, or I can put a word in or a letter, and I will just put in an S or an S plus. So that's one place absolutely to look for some speed. I'll switch over. I just want to check on slugging because slug, it's a weighted average for doubles and triples and home runs. So it's not perfect, but for a guy to get a double or particularly a triple, he's going to have to be very quick. You can either be ripping something into the gap or off the wall, or you can be very fast and legging things out. So I'll just take a quick peek at X slug on BaseballSavant, and you'll see it's kind of a blend of like the power guys, but there's some speedsters on there, Tatis, Acuna. Will Myers runs a little bit. Just another thing to look at. But let's go over to, I have another thing. We're going to jump back over to the fan graphs. And there was a little, I want to make sure I have the right one here. Yeah, I think I do there. Okay. This is a custom date range that I thought would be interesting for you. As opposed, we can't do it on BaseballSavant, but on Fangraphs. As opposed to just looking at 2020 and then looking at 2019 and kind of like having these two worlds that you're dealing with and you don't know what to discredit. If you use a custom date range starting on 5/31/2019 up to November of 2020, you'll take the tail end of 2019 and whatever happened in 2020 and merge those together to about 162 game sample size. So that'll just help normalize it so we can feel a season's worth of numbers. It's kind of like backdating and adding on to the short season. And I just want to click on one thing. Dashboard is okay. Go over to standard. Standard will give you 1Bs, 2Bs, 3Bs home runs. Click on 2B. And so here we have your doubles. And what's nice with doubles is that it's in the intersection of power and speed. Guys that are developing power, doubles might turn into home runs. If you're really fast, you're able to leg out doubles. And I just like to look at who did doubles over the last season and a half. And we have Rafael Devers with a 55, Castellanos with a 51, Lindor 48, Turner 47, Bogarts, Freeman, Seager, Blackman, Bregman, Pilar. And really, the doubles list deserves its own respect because a double usually clears the bases. That's a hot hit. You got a guys on first and second. You rip a double. You're a player. You're having a good day for me that day. So I wanted to push up and kind of respect all of my doubles guys. Albies, Brantley, Jose. They're all on here. Whit Merrifield, who I've got to stop fading so hard. Tim Anderson. It's just a nice thing to look at as you're moving through your doubles. The next thing you can go to is just go to the truth. Go to stolen bases, SBs. SBs on Fangraphs. What's crazy here is even when I opened up the sample to the last 165-ish games of baseball, there's no steals. There's no speed. So yet we continue to have to win speed with an unbelievable amount of scarcity in speed. And I'm telling you what, I am not leaving speed off the table. I won't be light on speed. I will be heavy on speed because I feel like it's a category that's easy to grab and reach and to get and to win throughout the season on a regular basis. But here we go with Jonathan Villar, has 47 bases. Trey Turner, 39. Acuna, 39. Story, 28. Starling Marte, 27. Pham, 25. Whit Merrifield, 24. Yelich, 24. And then it just plummets. I mean, Lindor has 22 bases. Tatis Jr. has 21 bases in the last 116 games. I mean, we haven't even seen him play that much. I look at a Kevin Biggio who has 20 stolen bases, but 0 caught stealings. So caught stealings is the tension. If you're getting caught stealing, your manager's going to say, hey, bud, you can't run anymore. We can't let you run into outs. Just stand first, and deal with it from there. So as your caught stealings, as guys age and the caught stealings start to catch up with them, it's not a good sign. I mean, Ahmed Rosario, 14 stolen for 9 caught, you're not going to get sent doing that. These guys, Will Myers, 13 stolen bases. I mean, Will Myers, only 13 steals in the last 156 games. I just want to click into him for a second because you feel like, no, he must have stolen more bases than that. He must have. Well, not really. He stole 16 in 2019. A lot of those must have been, or some of those were early in the season, which I clipped. And in 2020, he stole 2. So I think there might be a little bit of fantasy steals out there. Another guy I looked at was like Javi Baez. Like, wait, I thought Javi was a speedster. Javi's going to take bases. Javi might only take 9 or 10 bases. So stick with your pure burners for speed. Stick with your guys that have elite sprint speed because you know you're getting it from those guys. They might not even have to discuss with the coach. They might just say, hey, if you get a look, take the base. That's what they can say to Trey and to Tatis and to these speedsters. So that's where I'm going for that. Let me just check. I was going to check one other number here. So use that little custom date range. As guys age, you'll see the caught stealings catch up, and then they don't get the green light, and that's basically the end of stealing bases for them. You could just take a peek at triples. I mean, because to leg out a triple, you're going to have to be very quick to get that extra base. And obviously, Eduardo Escobar, Hunter Dozier. Okay, I mean, Kansas City has a huge field. Turner, Edelman, Marte, Tatis Jr., Story, Simeon, Austin Meadows, Albies. There's not a lot of triples. I mean, 6 or 7 triples. It's pretty much a rarity in the terms of baseball events. Again, checking your slug, checking your ISO. I'll just mention, let's see, I'll go to, on the Fangraph still, I'll go to advanced again on this custom date range from May 31st of 2019. And I'll just go to the advanced tab and I'll click on ISO. What ISO does is looks at the hitting, but it removes all the singles. So again, I'm trying to just go, well, let me look at the doubles and the triples. But unfortunately, it's got home runs in there. So you got to kind of tease out who has power and who has speed, why they have a high ISO. The other thing to check is probably just a little bit of team narrative, team philosophy. I think there's a catch-22 here. If you have players that can take bases, then your team starts to take bases. But on the other hand, if you have a coach that wants to run more or to generate run production, that's going to help you. The teams I know, Kansas City runs. The manager is going to turn everybody loose. The Padres, do they run or do they just have Tatis? It looks like they run a little bit. Texas, Seattle, the Rays, Colorado, Philly, Toronto, some teams with pretty consistent tendencies to run. You could go on to, say, your baseball reference, go to batting, go to standard batting. You see some team batting, and you can look at how many stolen bases the whole team took. You know, I have a much better sense of getting some steals from, let's say, a Seattle Mariner or a Texas Ranger than I do a Minnesota Twin because Minnesota is not taking any bases. That might just be a philosophy. Is anyone fast in Minnesota? You kind of have to think about it. Not really when I pop up into, just looking at that lineup. So one last place to check, and I really do, I'm going back to Baseball Savant, bouncing you guys around a little bit, but Baseball Savant, back over to the leaderboard, and then into hitting leaderboard percentile rankings, which we lived a little bit with barrel percentage and barrels. There's also a speed tab, second from the last, and that'll give you the speed percentile ranking. The reason I like the percentile ranking, it kind of stratifies the field a little bit. It pulls them apart, and it shows you really who's in the top with, we're saying, 99% of speed. Tyler O'Neill, Hampson, Buxton, Trey Turner. And sure, Garrett Hampson busted on me last season. I was very high on him, and he didn't deliver. But he's still fast, so I'm not going to completely never touch him again. Mondesi, Bader, Tatis at 98%. Adele, Kiermaier, Berti, 97%. Really kind of strings it out. Leo Taveras, Luis Robert, Trent Grisham, Ronald Acuna, 96%. Tommy Edman, St. Louis, a little bit of speed there. Trevor Story, Andres Gimenez, a new player, Mike Trout, 94%. So it's just another thing to look at. Go over to percentile rankings, click on speed, watch it really stretch those guys out. And you'll get a feel for how fast you are. Because, I mean, a 99 percentile speedster is probably, a little cuter than like an 89%er. So that's another way to go. So what I found is I started, you have your sheet and there's a lot of movement. Let me just say, what would give you a sheet reset, which is what I did. And it can be a little scary. It's just, put in 150 rows in your Excel spreadsheet. Just insert them or grab all your players and just move them down. And then just draft against yourself. Who do you want? Who do you look at the guy? Move him up, move him up. And that's what I want to walk through here with you guys today. Show you where some of this shook out for me. Because while, they're going through divisions or AL East and picking things and really going deep into teams and sleepers. And it's just getting a cacophony of noise. It's getting murky. I just pound the 150. I just continue to pound the 150, moving up my young upside, making some internal decisions with players, and really getting to know them on a broader level, on a more intimate level. So I'm willing to buy these players. And what I saw is, so I went through speed, and that moved a lot of my upside around. And then I said, well, but wait, don't start forgetting about power. Don't start forgetting about hard hit. Start over again. Go back over to your barrel list. Let me just pull up one here. I kind of want to do it with exit velocity and barrels or hard hit and number. And just remind you, am I still in line with the truth about hard hit? Am I still in the right place there? And some of the things you want to click is don't sleep on just clicking on max exit velocity. That means a little something to me. Average exit velocity, obviously. Max distance, that says something. Let's just real quick, just a quick segue into max distance. I mean, Ronald Acuna Jr., 495 max distance. Austin Riley, Bryce Harper, Marcell Ozuna, Teoscar, Jimenez, Soto, Franmil. I mean, because to hit the ball the furthest, you must also hit a lot of balls pretty far. You're not going to be fluky, have no power, no exit velo, no angle, never flashed it, and just connect with something randomly for 495. No, that's Ronald Acuna territory. There are no soft hitters on this. And who popped up to me again at number 11 is Brandon Lowe. Hit something 459. The thing that's really cute on Baseball Savant when you sort some of these other categories is the color coding on the barrels per plate appearance. And you can just see, you can go, oh, well, I like the max and I like the dark red on the barrels. I like the max. Let's see, Christian Yelich, but the barrels were down. Who's here? Alberto Mondesi had a good max, but the barrel rate's down. So it does happen from at times. So it's just an easy tool to kind of scan your eye around. Continue to helicopter through your stats a little bit. I want to just talk about draft strategy a little bit. Not so much salary cap, but team construction. You have utility spots, whatever your roster situation may be. Think about how you want to build through the utility, how you want to build through the bench. This year I'm seeing a little bit, maybe I want 4 outfielders, maybe I want 5 outfielders. That way when anything happens, injuries, cold streaks, it's easy for me to slide in and replace players. Or I want some multi-position eligibility so I can bounce some things in. Let's say I hit the waivers, I'm picking up hot players, I need some spots for them in the lineup so that way I can move some things around. Because what I think is happening with this multi-position eligibility is that there's a mirage. There's a mirage of depth. You think there's more depth at a position than there really is because these guys are going to start getting squeezed into other positions. So when I do more of a sheet review at the end and talk about how my sheet evolved and we grind through the players, I'll go through some of that position movement. But let's just start on some starters. Let's just touch on them. We got to keep being right on starters and right on outfielders because there are so many players in that position. We're just going to fly through it. Obviously, DeGrom, Bieber, Cole, no big deal. Giolito, Castillo, no big deal. Here's the last little cluster of guys that I believe have 1A top 5 upside is Darvish, Scherzer, Corbin Burns, Kenta Maeda, and Blake Snell. So the next 4 pitchers here that I'm dealing with, it's Walker Buehler and Jack Flaherty. Whether these guys really deserve to be in this position, they have to prove to us this year. Flaherty has shown it. Buehler we know has it in him. but they haven't done it last year, and they were a little down last year. But the thing is that we kind of have to accept that they're here because we're going to have to pay for them here. You're going to have to like them that much. You're going to have to be ready to rely on them as probably a 1A in order to be buying them here. The next two guys who I'm fading because I don't want to overpay for, but I can't push them any lower on my list, are Aaron Nola and Trevor Bauer, who they're just more consistent. They've done it more times. I think their floor is a little higher than the next group of upside, so I just don't want to disrespect them too far. Obviously, my next group is Dinelson Lamet, who I'm not off of yet, Brandon Woodruff, Tyler Glasnow, Carlos Carrasco, and yes, Zach Gallen. And even though on a Zach Gallen, I'm not sure if he's all the way there, I'm not as high as everyone else, like Buehler and Flaherty, I kind of just have to accept it because this is where his price is realistically. What I find this year, and I don't know if this is going to be a little bit of an experiment for me, is I might get one signature old man veteran, one horse that's just old, like mid-30s, and just throw them on the team for some depth because they're coming a little bit cheap. They exist in this pitching realm, and they've been good for a long time, and that's Zach Greinke, Clayton Kershaw, Steven Strasburg, Patrick Corbin, and Lance Lynn. So, I mean, none of these guys, I mean, exciting, I guess. At Kershaw, are you excited by Kershaw at this point? Not really. Roster Resource still has Kershaw as the number one starter for the Dodgers, so that's real. We'll see that Greinke still, in Greg Maddux-like fashion, is able to miss bats and suppress hard hit and bombs. You know, so these are the guys, they're going to have good innings. I think they're going to be, even as I say it, I get hesitant because I know that old age, I know it's going to blow up in my face, and it's hard for me to spend $20 on them. But I don't want to ignore those five guys who have just done it year after year after year. But here's where I want to live. Here's the young upside that I'm pushing up to you because I think we can win leagues here. Julio Urias, Zach Plesac, Jesus Lizardo, Tyler Mahle, and Aaron Savale, who I just see a little bit more out of than we've seen previously. You can go break down a Trevor Bauer and an Aaron Nola. Zach Greinke continue to do it, but let me take a peek at Julio Urias here. 24 years old, only 6 feet tall. Okay. You can look at where he's hitting. He's able to move the four-seam fastball up and down. He's got control of the curveball, changeup, slider, couple sinkers, but he's mostly working the four-seamer. I mean, this is an elite prospect. So this year, I mean, I think a little bit that's happening is just some truth or status, letting some of those young upside players that you've liked for 3, 4, 5 years now, continuing to go back to the well, not being upset with them, not being upset with the labrum surgery that he had, and that he was able to bring it back and get it back in here. What I like from a Julio Urias is the 94-mile-an-hour fastball. Are the whiff rates there? Not really. The changeup with a 31% whiff, not great. The season before, the change had a 33% whiff. The slider had a 34% whiff. So he's had better stuff that should materialize this season. But one thing I want to notice here is these spin rates. And I think we got to take a little detour down spin rate lane and talk about how the spin rates work, because what Julio Urias does have, which we'll see in a second, is some high spin rates. The four-seam fastball has a 2,400 spin rate. The curveball is pushing 2,900 spin rate with the slider at 2,600. So what's happening? He's getting really good yank on these pitches. The spin rate is hiding the seams of the ball. If the players can see the seams, they can identify the pitch, and then they're able to make some adjustments to their swing. But if he's yanking it off and it's spinning at a blinding, 2882 spin rate on the curveball, it could have some additional effectiveness, additional movement, additional appearance that it's not dropping in the zone. So a place to go, and this is wild, Baseball Savant. I'm in the middle of preseason prep, Baseball Savant, and they're adding statistical metrics like as I speak. Spin direction comparison, spin direction pitches. I just saw it for the first time today. So I don't have anything for you on that because I didn't even know it existed until today. But we can check out. We can just go to basics. Here it is. Under pitching on Baseball Savant. Pitch arsenals. It's hidden, so stick with me. What they're giving you is average speed, which you can check for each pitch. But what you can click on in the drop down is average spin. So on average spin now, okay, and they do it by pitch. You can check it for 2020. We see Trevor Bauer with a 27.76. Right behind him, Corbin Burnes, Chris Stratton, Richards. And this is where, I mean, one particular pitch's spin rates does not make a pitcher, but it's something worth looking at to know if there's a little upside there to differentiate. I kind of just ignore guys whose names I don't know. Like, I don't know Hatch Thomas. He's not on my thing. Josh Lindblom, who was mentioned in the comments, he's on here with a high spin rate four-seamer. That's good to see. I like seeing Walker Buehler at 9 with a high spin rate fastball. Sonny Gray, Cease, there's Urias. But you get a sense that, 2,400 and up is a pretty hard spin rate on your four-seamer. What's interesting, it doesn't work. You don't want low spin rate on your fastball. I don't see any good fastballs on the slow spin rates. The sinker is basically a two-seam fastball, for we're going to slip past that. So you want high. Look at the spin rates on the cutters. To get the cutters to move, guys are getting spin rates up in the 3,200s. Dustin May, 3,000 on his cutter spin rate. Corbin Burnes with a 29.63 on the spin rate. Glasnow with a 29.39. So these guys really high spin rates, probably getting a lot of movement on the cutter. The slider again, this is where it gets interesting. You got Walker Buehler, number 1 on the spin rate on the slider with 29.49. Making it hard to hit. Carlos Carrasco, look at Clayton Kershaw still breaking it off. 26.76. Urias right behind him. Dinelson Lamet. And what you'll see is the swinging strike rates, they somehow correlate with these spin rates. These pitches are harder to hit when they're yanking them really fast. The thing I wanted to check out with you, it doesn't really come to the changeup. So the changeup and probably the curve, there's two theories out there, and I've heard different things from different people, but I'm going to give you my best understanding of it. You want high spin rates on hard stuff, but for off-speed stuff, you can be okay with low spin rates, which leads to tumbling, which leads to the ball falling off the plate. So you get this weird, I get this weird event that we've got guys with high spin rates on the curves. Some of these are good. Corbin Burnes is good. Walker Buehler's up there. Really hard spin rate on the curve. But at the same time, there's guys with good curves with really low spin rates. Patrick Corbin with an 1,800 spin rate, almost very little spin. Paddock with almost no spin on the curve. Ian Anderson with no spin on the curve. So just looking at that, it seems like at least for off speed, you got to be in the extremes. You either got to be breaking it off and ripping off high-end spin, or it's got to be very, very low spin that allows it to tumble and that it's contrasting with your other pitches. But in the spin rates, at least, as much as I ice water bath Walker Buehler early in the season, I'm going to come back. I'm like, nope, I see it in the arsenal. I see that he's throwing filthy, crazy stuff, so we're going to stick with him there. So let me go back to these players. So that's where I'm at. That was a little detour on spin rate. So Julio Urias, he's flashing me what are very attractive spin rates. I can go back to 2017. He had a 50% whiff on the curveball. No, let's see some of the better sample. In 2019, the slider and the change with 34% whiffs. Something for me is going to have to pop a 40% whiff rate for it to really be an out pitch. But I think because Urias is so young, because the pitching pedigree is so good, you see that he was really suppressing hard hit. Nice mix that I think I need to have some pieces of him going into the season. Jesus Lizardo, who I remain high on. I've got him open in Baseball Savant here, but I know from his fan graphs that this is a 60 future value player. And here's a profile that really attracts me. He's got a four-seam fastball, sits 95.5. And there it is, changeup and curve, whiff rate 44%, 45%, loving it. he's a good example of spin rate change. So he's got pretty hard spin on the curve, 2,500, but the changeup drops off to 1,900, showing that he's able to slow it down and get some fall off from the pitch, get that pitch to drop off the table. So what I'm seeing from a Jesus Lizardo, besides the pedigree, I'm seeing hard cheddar, I'm seeing 2 out pitches, and a pitcher that very well could break out if the health goes well for him. Just looking at where he's hitting the plate a little bit, I do like more to see those zones and see where they're hitting it with the red zones. We got Lizardo here. He's hitting the changeup in 2 particular spots, one for a strike, one that's like sitting on the corner. He's working the four-seam fastball up high. I just like what he's doing. Tyler Mahle, who I continue to hype. Oh, here, no, I switched. This is Tyler Glasnow. I had the wrong Tyler. And a very good point in the comments that he's, I don't know if it was Dr. Fancy or Daniel Halliday that told me, like, oh, Glasnow hasn't pitched any innings. He hasn't pitched any innings. I don't know if we should be really calling him an ace for a guy that has just pitched so few innings in his career. And you're probably right. There's a general narrative that pitchers pitched so little last season that teams are going to be cautious of pushing them too far. Again, you don't want more than a 30% innings increase per year. That'd be something like going from 130 innings to 160 to 190. Being slow with that increase. Guys with massive increases in innings tend to need Tommy John. That's the Verducci report. Guys going from 100 innings in the minors up to 180. You can really toast an arm that way. So everyone's going to be being cautious about how many innings and how much to stress these arms. So sure, the things about Glasnow that we might not love are the innings and the lack of health. But the things that we do like a lot, obviously the 97-mile-an-hour fastball, we like. That curveball has a 2,900 spin rate. The whiff on the curveball and the change 52% and 40%. And this is one thing. I keep hearing from other people. I keep hearing that Tyler Glasnow is only a 2-pitch pitcher. And I mean, sure, in 2019, 2020, he was a 2-pitch pitcher. But if you click down to 2018, you see that Tyler Glasnow did know how to throw a slider, and he threw it for a 56% whiff rate with a 2,900 spin value on it. So I don't know if Tyler Glasnow is ever going to decide, you know what, my elbow's feeling good. I got a good feel for this pitch, and he's going to come back 3 pitches and not 2 and be completely scary. And I know from a few seasons back in terms of expected and XBAs and XWOBAs that Tyler Glasnow was elite. So sure, he might not give you the full season's worth of production, but I think he gives you gems along the way, and so that you may have to patch in some other pieces and just enjoy the ride. But, in terms of innings, it's funny because I hear a lot about innings from the industry, and I didn't know that innings was a category. Have you won a league because you had a lot of innings? I mean, is it about innings? I mean, to me, I like K per 9. That's a little bit more what it's about for me. So that's a Tyler Glasnow. Tyler Mahle. Tyler, really the magic for Tyler is he's just getting behind a 31% whiff rate fastball that he's throwing a lot at only 94%. So we go up to the image of where is he throwing it. He's working middle and then he's working up. And he seems to just be pounding. Guys aren't catching up to it well. The spin rate is not, it's just kind of average. He's working the slider. I just see a guy that's just been going pretty well at 26 years old behind a pretty good fastball. Zach Gallen, as we dig into the profile a little bit more here. Zachy Gallen, 93 miles an hour. Changeup has a 43% whiff. But what's interesting is, see, Gallen's spin rates, the curveball is a 2,400 spin rate, but everything else is a little light. So when I see a Zach Gallen, I think, well, this stuff isn't crazy. It's not like filthy madness that Corbin Burns is throwing. It's good. But it doesn't have the sheer just reek of just filth and spin rate coming off of it. The other thing we're going to check, just checking that zone contact chase whiff kind of combination. Zone contact, 79%. Yeah, we'll do it. The chase, 29%. We'd like it up a little bit, but he got that kind of chase the season before, a whiff rate of just a 30. So he's right there. He's right there as a good pitcher. There's nothing crazy yet. Does he have a chance to really blow up and take it to the next level? I'm not sure yet. Aaron Savale here, who I like. Nice mix from Savale. A little bit of a soft tosser. I can't get excited about 92, but I like the whiff rate on the curveball of a 39. The changeup he throws to left, he's a whiff rate of a 34. Savale's another guy that I saw going deep into some games. The walk rate is only 5%, so he's going to pitch deep into games and not walk batters. The couple later arms, let me get back over here. The couple arms after that group, the guys I'm really pushing up for some upside. I like Tristan McKenzie of the Cleveland Indians. Tristan McKenzie, young, raw. The four-seamer only 93, but a slider with a 44% whiff rate, approaching elite. A curveball with a 34% whiff rate, which I can definitely live with. And he throws a change to lefties. So I see a four-pitch arsenal that he's got a good command of. He's got 3 different distinct bandwidths of pitches going. I just want to see a little bit of how that plate discipline was looking here. Zone contact 77. That's great. Chase 32.8. Yeah, that's great. And then the whiff at 29. So just glancing over that, I mean, I guess it's not everything, but Tristan McKenzie was going better than Zach Gallen in that limited sample. So I'm very happy there. Ian Anderson, Max Fried, and Sixto Sanchez, just to kind of round this out. Ian Anderson, 22 years old, 6'3". What was he throwing? The thing that I like about Ian, if you're looking at where he's hitting in the zone, he's missing either up, he's up and down, but he doesn't miss left, right. So I am seeing a fairly nice control there. He suppressed batting average. He suppressed slug. What was he using? A four-seamer sitting 94. Good. Changeup, curveball, sinker. Let's just talk change curve. 39% whiff rate, 40% whiff rate. Sinker, he only threw it 8 times at a 50% whiff rate. I don't really care about that. So he's 3 pitches, but 2 40% out pitches from an Atlanta Brave who's going to get tons of run support on a team that knows how to manage a staff. So you're going to have to get some Ian Anderson, get to know him. I think he could break out for you. Sixto Sanchez. Because what happens after these guys who I'm really excited about to be aces, I have a huge cluster of pitchers that are just like pitchers. They're good pitchers. I know it's not going to go amazingly, but I might have to sprinkle them into my team. Maybe I'll do more to kind of pick these guys apart, but I'll just rattle this list off for you. Chris Archer, German Marquez, Chris Paddock, Ryu, Valdez, Dylan Bundy, Gonzalez, Hendrick. I don't even feel good saying this. Kluber, Tanaka, Morton, Wheeler, Ray. It's just not good. So I don't think SP is that deep. It's to give you a feel of my targets and where I'm going. So obviously we had a lot. We haven't met in a little while. So I had a lot to get in today. And we're just going to power through. We're just going to keep going. We're going to go a little bit long today. If you need to take a break, check it out. Take it out now. But let's go to what we're here to do. We're here to talk about young upside, to talk about hitting, and to talk about this sheet revamping. And I'm starting from the top. I might have to go through it, maybe 100 hitters with you guys, just in name at first, and we'll dive into what the young upside talent really looks like. Starting at the top, I've moved Fernando Tatis Jr. to number 1. I have Juan Soto at 2, Acuna, Luis Robert. Honestly, because of where I am with speed, I could move Soto to 4. It doesn't seem right. But the speed is what's pushing guys up because you're not going to find it other places. You can't skip over Acuna or Buxton and just get it somewhere else because guys just aren't fast enough to give it to you. One move I have here, and it's the position eligibility, is to take Cody Bellinger, move him over to 1B. I really like Cody Bellinger at 1B this season. I feel like that's going to kind of be a signature piece to just park him at 1B because after Bellinger, and if it's not Pete Alonso for me, who I'm high on, it just starts to get unenticing to me with a Freddie Freeman or a Jose Abreu as it slips down. So I'm moving Cody to 1B, just thinking of him there. The cluster of veteran outfielders you'll never get past: Trout, Yelich, Harper, and Betts. And here I go back with a Pete Alonso because I just can't resist 50 home run potential. So that kind of brings me, that's like a top 10. What I'm seeing here is a cluster of shortstops that are just so elite that they have to be pushed up. It's Trey Turner, Trevor Story, Alberto Mondesi, Bo Bichette, and Corey Seager. And somebody who I had in there was Francisco Lindor, but I've since faded a little bit. But I think you can't miss out in that tier of super elite shortstops. I would go almost as far. We talk about filling out the utility position. If I had a chance to double tap a shortstop to create some scarcity, to add something to my utility spot, if I don't want to do an outfielder or another first baseman, maybe it's another elite shortstop. Could be a very good bargaining chip in season. I mean, and production-wise, you can't go wrong. Trey, 20-40. Story, 40-20. Alberto, 20-50. Bo Bichette, 25-25. Corey, 35 none in average. You know, I'm not sure exactly Francisco, what he's going to do, 30-10, 30-15, 25-15. So the production is there to legitimize these guys being here and not just off of position scarcity. For me, I have Gleyber Torres up here. It's just Gleyber. I don't know. Did everyone forget that he hit 38 home runs in 2019? Did we forget? He did it already. So we got Gleyber there, an uber prospect in a great lineup in a great park that I'm just going to push up. I think Manny Machado and Vlad Guerrero Jr. Manny is the lock. Manny is the consistent. Vlad is the really enticing upside who I think is going to break out this season in a tremendous lineup. And just after grinding out outfielders, I have decided on these 5 outfielders who I think are a notch above the rest of the outfield field. And it's Eloy Jimenez, Yordan Alvarez, Aaron Judge, Kyle Tucker, and Teoscar Hernandez. They to me, they're the sexiest of the outfielders. Eloy, Yordan, Aaron Judge, Teoscar, all 40 home run potential. All in very strong lineups. Kyle Tucker's probably 30 with some bases, with some speed. And I think on sexiness, I have to put them there. As we push down the list a little bit further, there's a little cluster of third baseman who I can't ignore. Arenado, Bregman, and Devers. And I'm nervous about Breg. He's talking about the hamstring. It's not where he wants it to be. He doesn't, what did he say? It's not, he doesn't like it. He's down. He's down on his own hamstring. I don't know. So Breggs isn't going to steal, and he'll continue to hit, but I don't like that he's not really healthy. Nato, Devers, and Lindor. But here's where I think, though, I really kind of shook it up a little bit. And I am ready to push a Randy Arozarena up this high. Because I decided that after all those players are gone that I just mentioned, who I really want. And at this point in your draft, I want all these guys. It's not yes or no. I mean, I really would like to have them on the team. I think Randy Arozarena is just one of the sexiest players in the league. And I just wanted to jump into that profile on Fangraphs. On Fangraphs, Randy Arozarena, 25 years old, 5'11", so a little old for a prospect, a little short for my team, but that's okay. 60 future value player. What the scouts saw in him early in his career was a 55 hit tool with 60 game power, 60 raw power, and 50 speed. So you're looking at a 4-tool kind of stud who they always saw some pop in the bat. What do we like about him? We like exit velocity of 90. Minor league seasons, WRC plus of 211 in AA, that'll excite you. A WRC plus of 162 in 2019. He comes up for the Rays. He's got a WRC plus of 176. So he just continues to do it. The launch angle got better to a 9, a little low. We need more from him there, but the barrel rate is 14%. Because of a 44% hard hit with a 37% Fangraphs hard hit. He's got some oppo spray. Where we need to temper our expectation, obviously, we'll go down to the plate discipline, see what he's doing. See, on the O swing, 26.8, sub 30. This isn't a reckless swinger. This isn't a guy just chasing everything. The zone contact of only 75%. Not very good there. Could it plummet on him? No. I think this is a guy that's learning. I think he's a beast. And then a swinging strike of 14.9%. This is a quick segue for me. This was like a little bit of a breakout. I don't know if I'd call it an epiphany for me. When you're trying to compare players, and I really find this tension dealing with Biggio and Bichette, is there's some guys that are swinging all the time. And then there's some guys that are really taking more often. They're taking on the outside. They might not have the best zone contact, but they don't swing at everything. I think a way to resolve these players, which I've maybe been ignoring for multiple seasons, is the swinging strike rate of the batter. We know for pitchers that 12 is like the line here. Up over 12 on swinging strike, we start to like it's good. Below 12 is not good. 10, 9, 8, that's getting very bad. So we kind of need the reverse from the hitter. So ultimately, if you want to just resolve the O swing and the Z contact and probably the O contact down to one number, you could look at swinging strike to see how this player's handling himself. And Arozarena should make me a little nervous. He's got a 14.9% swinging strike. That's a lot of swinging strike because that's against all the pitchers. That's just not the good pitchers. That's all the pitches he saw. He was whiffing. He was swinging at a lot and missing. So just looking at that swinging strike number to see if a player is handling himself or not. I don't have Bichette up here, but you can see. So guys that even if they're chasing everything, if they have good contact, if that swinging strike is down, you're going to be better able to live with it. So I've got Randy Arozarena up this high. Is there anything else I need to touch in that profile? I'm going to leave him there. Right behind him, I pushed up. Oh, where is he? I'm going to have to type him in here real quick. I am just ballooning bonkers on Trent Grisham. Trent Grisham, yeah. 24 years old, 6 feet tall, 205. Let's check the scouting report. Not great. Only a 40 future value player. All right, so the scouts didn't love it. The game power only a 40, but the raw power 50, the speed 50. Okay, so a little pop, a little speed. The hit tool 30 to 40, but these guys sometimes get it wrong. The scouts aren't right all the time. We see a Trent Grisham who came into the league and went 10-10 in a small sample. What does the hard hit look like? 41% hard hit. The launch angle is great at 13, leading to 11% barrel rate. Double-digit launch angle. Launch angle is 12 and above is where we need to be. Let's see the plate discipline. And this is where I start to get excited. This is where I compared Randy Arozarena, the 60 future value player, to Trent Grisham. Look at this plate discipline from Trent. The O swing, 20%. That's amazing. That's great. The Z contact is 83%, almost 84. The O contact is 67. His swinging strike is only an 8. So this guy's bat to ball. He's get on base all day, and he looks like he's going to be setting the table for San Diego Padres lineup. And maybe he just worked. Maybe this is a guy that just worked hard, who's going to outperform what the scouts said about him, and I think he's in a good position to make things happen. So Randy Arozarena, Trent Grisham obviously pushed up outrageously high, and one of the things I'm doing is I push out upside up to like the highest tolerable position that you could push him up. You don't want to push him up over Randy Arozarena is not better than Francisco Lindor. I'm not going to do that yet, but I can push him up pretty close. Who I had them skip over, the veterans who I can't ignore: Freddie Freeman, Jose Abreu, George Springer, Marcell Ozuna. Just legitimate sluggers in great positions going to continue to hit. But right behind them, I had another vacuum filled of talent, and it's Brandon Lowe and Cavan Biggio, followed by Byron Buxton. So let's see where we're going to start. Let's start with Brandon Lowe, who I'm just very high on. 26 years old, 5'10". A little bit of a late bloomer, a little small. But the hit tools of 50, the game power 55, raw power 55, speed 50. 50 future value player. How'd he do when he came up? He was hitting bombs. His hard hit is a 43%, and the launch angle is super sweet at 18%. It's honestly, it's great. The barrel percentage was 17%. It looks great. The hard hit was 43%. I mean, Brandon Lowe hits the ball hard, and he plays second base. I don't think you're gonna get a guy who doesn't hit the ball hard. When we get a little nervous, the O swing 26%, decent. The zone contact 76%, low. The O contact not that good. A swinging strike that is a 15% swinging strike. So they're swinging this, but when you're swinging out of your shoes, yeah, you're gonna miss some baseballs. You're swinging out of your mind. You're swinging at other stuff. But we see some improvement in swinging strike for Brandon Lowe from 70% down to 19%, down to 15%. We'd like to see another improvement there. If he could take a step forward and get that, the O swing is fine at 26. O contact may never get better. If that Z contact came up to 70 to 80 and the swinging strike was down just a tick or two, I think you're looking at potential 35 home run upside from Brandon Lowe, who looks like he's going to be powering the Tampa Bay Rays this year. A man who I am extremely high on, as you can see from these ratings. At some point, I put Cavan Biggio above Brandon Lowe at this point. Here's Cavan. Here's someone that the scouts didn't fall in love with. 40 future value player like a Trent Grisham. The hit tool, a 40. The game power, 50. The raw power, 50. And the speed, they said, it's a 45 now, but he's going to age into a 40 speed. So the speed is going to decline as he ages based on his build, but he's 25. What I see, and I don't know. I don't know why they're so down on him. I see a guy that went 16 and 14, like we said, in 2019. So he's got potential to be 20-20. For some reason, the projection systems think he's going to steal less bases in more games in 2021 than he did in less games in 2019, and I just don't think that's true. I think we're staring at 25-25 in the face. The hard hit, it went from very hard to soft in 2020, but the launch angle is exceptional at 16%. So some of those are going to go out, even if they're not hit perfectly hard. The fly ball rate is great. He's pull happy. But this is where, and I know we've touched on this, but I just have to drive the point home again. Because I see a plate discipline on a Cavan Biggio that legends are made of. I mean, his O swing is 16%. I don't have to go to the total leaderboard and know that that's in line with Jose Ramirez and Mike Trout. I mean, the guy, Joey Votto, Betts. I mean, guys that don't O swing at 16%. That's just spitting all over off-speed pitches, spinning on anything off the plate with the zone contact that was an 85% in 2019 and an 84% last year for a swinging strike of just an 8. You can't get Cavan Biggio to swing and miss. He's chasing nothing. So I don't know what the progression is for young Cavan Biggio, but I see the foundational tools for a guy that like I said, just heroes are made of, just phenomenal. What could happen next? He's 6'2", 200. Bichette's only 6 feet, and he's swinging at everything. So I got to push a Cavan Biggio up there, a guy who I absolutely love. Another one I'm going to touch on here, and I'm going to admit some personal bias. I'm going to give a little bit of a disclaimer, and it's Byron Buxton, who has broken hearts, who has disappointed year after year after year with ridiculous injuries and concussions and I don't even know what, and just not putting it together. The reason the bias sits here for me is because I picked up a Buxton late in a playoff run. I don't know if you guys were there. I don't know if it was 17 or 18. And in my playoff run, he went on a home run tear, and I won a championship with a Byron Buxton. So he will always have, I'll always go, all right, Byron, because I saw it for 3 or 4 weeks when I needed it most. And so I just can't quit him. 6'2", 190. what I like about Byron, I mean, they have him projected 15 steals, guys. 21 steals, 18 steals. I think it's because they think he's not going to play. But somebody who is faster or as fast as Trey Turner is going to be on the base pass. I mean, he took 29 bases in 140 games in 2017. If he's just on the field, he's going to be back to 30 bases. The reason I have him up here is because I can't find bases anywhere else. And if I'm going to find bases, I'm not going to find them with what's being projected as 20 to 30 home run pop. This is a player that just hit the magic 1,500 plate appearances. This is the year that Byron Buxton blossoms into the player that we thought he'd all be. And all of a sudden he starts getting drafted in the top. I don't know. It depends on how big the breakout is. Obviously, if he goes 30-30, that's going to make him like a top 20 bat. I know it's an aggressive projection, but why do I see it? Because I go down to a launch angle. That's great. This is a guy who had a pretty meandering launch angle of 12, 17, 15, 13. In 2019 and 20, he went to a 20. He's making adjustments. His hard hit ballooned to 47.9% last season. Byron, are you hitting the ball hard now? The fly ball's there. So it's a home run. It's a home run design type swing, even if there's swing and miss. We got to check the plate discipline. We know that's where this conversation is going to turn ugly and go south because the plate discipline is so atrocious. Yes, he was swinging at everything, 51% O swing. It's unacceptable. But the Z contact is 86%. He's been 82% his whole career. Buxton puts bat to ball. Puts it better to the ball than Arozarena's been doing so far. Yeah, the swinging strike rate of 17 is atrocious. And there's going to be some swing and miss. But along the way, there's going to be some balls out of the yard. There's going to be Buxton taking bases. And I'm just very high on him there. I've also pushed up a Kyle Schwarber, mostly because of the hard hit. I did see some flatness in that swing that I wasn't very excited about that he got to look at. I'm going to keep going. I don't even care how long it's going. We have to push these players up. And just as an intermission, as I fight through this list, is that we want to keep being right early in this process. I'm going to be rounding it out. I think that we got to go over. We got to do it. We got to get in and do the dirty work. We got to do catchers and closers. We got to get those guys ready. Round out this list. But I want players I'm going to like. So we've named guys. We're down here pretty deep. I don't know the number. We're probably like 20 or 30. And obviously there's some names you're like, when are you going to say them? Jose Ramirez. I'm just going to say them. I'm just going to put them out there. I can't disrespect him much further on this list. There's a couple veterans. Xander Bogaerts, Stanton and Austin Meadows, and Anthony Rendon. Okay, guys that I'm going to continue to want. But here comes the more upside push, and I am pushing up a Lourdes Gurriel Jr. and a Keston Hiura. And Lourdes is a little funky. The thing I'll say about Lourdes, the things I like about him, first of all, it's a hard player to figure out. He's 6'3", 215. I like that. I like that his brother hits for average in the league at age 36, and they're from the same gene line. He's smaller. I like that. We look at the profile. We see he could emerge into a 50-hit tool. He could emerge into a 55 power. So there are some nice things in the scouting report from Lourdes. But what really gets us excited is that Lourdes Gurriel is approaching a 91-mile-an-hour exit velocity. We'll start to take that. We get down to the hard hit, and we see that Lourdes, even though he flattened out a little bit, he had a 49% hard hit. The Fangraphs hard hit dipped a little bit. The fly ball dipped a little bit, so that's not great. We don't know what we're going to get from him. Let me just take a quick peek at the plate discipline. The O-swing fairly tidy at 31%. Zone contact, 83%. I mean, in some ways, he's been all over the map on how he plays. But before he got injured, I believe it was the 2019 season, he went on an absolute tear for like 6 or 8 weeks. And these little nuggets, these little things you remember historically from playing the sport, don't just discard them. You can continue to like a player for that. The other thing with Lourdes is he's got some multi-position eligibility that I'm going to be able to work in. So I'm very high there. As much as I was touting the Razzball podcast, I went further into it, and I went into like a second base preview, and I was disappointed. It's just, how your heroes can let you down. I'm not fading young upside. I had Gray telling me that he's not going to take Keston Hiura until he sees Keston Hiura do it. But why? Why, Gray? Why do you have to wait to see him do it? Why can't we take him? Keston Hiura, 5'11", 190, 24 years old. He's a 60 future value player. He's got 60 hit, 60 power, 60 raw power. Gray, I'm not going to wait to see if Keston Hiura is going to do it. I mean, sure, 19 home runs, 13 home runs last season. 13 home runs last season puts him on pace for 30. A little bit of bases. I mean, in 2019, he took 9 in like half a season. So I mean, are we not talking 30-20 from Keston Hiura? We're going to be down on him? A guy who tore through the minors and is now in the league because he had a little bit of a bad season? What's the hard hit? It took a step back from 48 to 39%, but the launch angle's sweet at 14%. The barrel rate is double digits since he's been up in the league. The plate discipline. Are there some real flaws? I mean, is there something catastrophic that we can't accept? The O-swing is 35%. The Z contact plummeted. Yes, he had a terrible season. He went from 76% to 67%. Maybe Gray can't tolerate this. And here comes the swinging strike. In 2019, it was 17%. In 2020, it was 20%. So maybe Gray is saying that there is a hole in the scouting report, that there's something Keston can't handle. He might have mentioned him getting sent down at some point. But I don't think so. I think this is a player that continues to figure it out. I'm not really going to fade upside. I'm not going to fade young upside because they haven't done it before. I want to be there for value. And I have Keston Hiura there because I see power and speed. Continuing to round this out, I think that Tim Anderson is being undervalued and he has speed. I don't know what it is about people not in love with the Tim Anderson because he hits for unbelievable average. This is a guy who just blossomed to be one of the league's best hitters. I'm just popping over to roster resource. I just like to mention the White Sox because it's just such a wild lineup. 27-year-old Tim Anderson, Adam Eaton, Yasmani Grandal. Just putting the veterans in the middle of the lineup. Abreu, Eloy Jimenez, Moncada, Luis Robert, a DH of a Zach Collins. What are we going to get from this team this year? It is going to be an exciting season. But I love the situation that Tim Anderson's in. He could be leading a team that's really on a breakout. And here's where the little pieces, the little movement, I wanted to kind of pull some of this apart and make sure that we're more right in our top 100 hitters. Will Myers, Franmil Reyes. Do I have Franmil on this? Who else do I have here? No, I do. Franmil. So I know there's a lot of swing and miss. Franmil came over from the Padres, but he's 25 years old. This is bopper status. 6'5", 275. The scouting report had him at a 70 raw power and a 55 game power. They thought the hit tool would go from a 35 to a 45. So Franmil has bop. The exit velocity, 92, 93, 92.4. So, I just don't leave Franmil out when you just have to keep up with power. The launch angle needs to get better. He's a little flat, but he's improving up to 11 degrees. The barrel rate, 12%. The hard hit, 44%. It's kind of all there. I'm sure the plate discipline is awful, but let's just take a peek. The O-swing, not terrible at 31%. It's the zone contact we don't like at 74% and a swinging strike rate of 16. So there's a lot of swing and miss, but when he connects with something, it's gone. Will Myers I have up here. A little section of 1B. I like Matt Olson, I like Miguel Sano, and I like a Dominic Smith. So as I'm pushing up this young upside, I just want to mention a Dominic Smith, 25 years old, 6 feet tall, short, but 240. So that's a little bit stocky. That's a powerful 6 feet tall. And we go to these scouting reports, a future value of a 50, but look at this. This is a hit tool of a 60. A game power 50, raw power 55. Speed is nil of 20. That's like he's slow. He can field a little bit, which will keep him in the game. A 50 future value. But Dominic Smith quietly was an 11th overall pick. So there's been some pedigree in the profile. Minor league numbers. Yeah, we've had some good WRC pluses, but nothing amazing. Hard hit of a 46. Launch angles okay, flattened out a little bit last season. Good Fangraphs hard hit. Needs to get more loft into his swing. Let me just see the plate disciplines here. 37% O swing is too much, but that 84% zone contact is good. See, here's a good example. I'm talking about Fran Mill, who's laying off O swing. But I got Dominic Smith over here, swing at 37% of the stuff. But when the Z contact is an 84% and the O contact is a 64%, the swinging strike is only 12.4. So of all that young upside that I've been talking about, resolve it to that swinging strike on the plate discipline, and I can feel very good about Dominic Smith making contact, hitting on an upstart Mets team with an improved lineup that wants to get serious this season. Overall, even though Dom Smith is swinging at a lot of pitches outside the zone, he's making good enough contact to make it work. The launch angle needs to get better. The fly ball needs to get better. They haven't projected at 22 home runs. The New York Mets is not a good ballpark for him. Is it only 25 home runs? Maybe, but there could be some average there. He had a 368 BABIP last season for a 316 average. It was a pretty good year. I just don't want to sleep on him. I'm maybe filling in at 1B, and I believe at least on Yahoo he's got some multi-position to bounce him around. Second base, it did create this little second base cluster. Javi Baez, Ozzie Albies. And I think, you get to a point, okay, let's bounce over first base. I got Rhys Hoskins and Josh Bell. I did see some flatness in Josh Bell's profile in the launch angle, making me think the power might be a little bit subdued. I've pushed Yoan Moncada. I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to not forget. I'm going to make sure I put Yoan up over Matt Chapman, Suarez, Donaldson, and Baum. Anybody else on this sheet? We'll leave them alone for now. So I'll just touch on this little Josh Bell point. My thing with Josh Bell, it's just never going to end for me. It's just that the launch angle in 2019 was 13%, and in 2020 it dropped down to 6%. That's bad. The hard hit went down a little bit. I'm going to need him to revert back to his old self. Jorge Soler I have up. This is where it starts to get a little bit tight. Let's talk about the outfielders first. The outfielders that I'm expecting a little bit of a boom from compared to this kind of just middling feel. I mean, there's elite players and there's not that many of them. That's why they're elite. And then we kind of get into the middle and we just have to be a little bit more right on like the good, the great, or the guys that are going to pop. I like an Eddie Rosario and a Ramon Laureano. You can check them out. The outfield gets rounded out with a Michael Conforto, Castellanos, Kepler, and I push A.J. Pollock up here. Here's a slew of first basemen that I don't really want to get involved with, but I can't disrespect. Luke Voit, Max Muncy, J.D. Martinez, and I'm calling it Nelson Cruz, who I know will only DH. Did I throw his name up here? It was just going to be the idea that, Max Muncy is not attractive. He comes up as a catcher. He's 30 now. He hasn't played a lot of baseball. We don't know him well, but he's in the middle of that Dodgers lineup. It's another guy that has a tremendous eye at the plate, does not go out and chase anything. Let's see if I can pull up a Muncy for us real quick. So I pushed him up there. And again, in the sentiment of just pushing up young upside and being a real truther, I pushed Ian Happ up here. Ian Happ. If you get caught not getting some of these elite second basemen, I'm not that deep. I've got Glaber, Brandon Lowe, Biggio, this little cluster of Gurriel Jr., Hira, Baez, and Albies. And then what? I don't want to get stuck with maybe Moustakas, Ketel Marte, Altuve. So I pushed an Ian Happ up a little bit. Chapman, Suarez, Donaldson, and Alec Baum. I want to touch on an Alec Baum. So Alec Baum, 50 future value player, 6'5", 225, 24 years old. They're seeing a hit tool of a 55 to mature into a 70 with a game power of 50 but a raw power of 60 because he's 6'5", 225, like a giant. So they expect him to be able to hit a little bit better. These are the things that I like. I like when you come to the league and your exit velo is a 90. I like how he tore through the minors with WRC pluses of 194, 165, 146, 139. How did it work when he got up here? Well, he's got a hard hit of a 46%. The launch angle is flat. 5.4 is not going to do it. So that barrel rate of a 99.5% is a little bit inflated because he's hitting it hard, but the launch angle is just so bad. The fly ball rate, also bad. But at 25%, was that a career worst fly ball rate? You know, as he adjusted to A and to double A, he got that fly ball rate up to 40%. He knows what he needs to do. It's not just a pull happy approach, it's an all fields approach. But we see it in the plate discipline. We see what the scouts are seeing. And here is that extremely tighty eye. 26.4% O swing. Tighty, tighty, tighty. O contact is okay at 54%. But the Z contact of 84%. This is bat to ball. So Alec bombs away. I mean, I don't want to sleep on him there. I know he's got some multi-position eligibility that excites me a little bit, that he could play some 1B. He could pop over to 1B. So it's interesting. Would I have him up even higher at 1B than I do at third base? Josh Donaldson continues to hit hard. And here's some more players. You know, I'm trying to stretch it apart. We can't forget Goldschmidt, Rizzo. I've pushed Moustakas up here because I think it's 35 home runs. Ketel Marte because of some previous strong play. I think I've gone over him before, but Brian Hayes. The guy is a 60 future value player. They have him with the hit tool of a 60. The power only a 50 and the raw power only a 50 with 60 speed and a fielder. And like I kind of said before, that fielding, I don't want a prospect with a high rating because of the fielding. I want him for the offensive production. But fielding keeps you on the field. And there's a little something to be said for a guy that's a total package. Arenado's, different players that can also field. Maybe they just feel more legendary, more superstar status. So we're talking about a 60 future value player who they like his contact more than his power. But I just can't get past an exit velocity of 92.8. That's crazy. That's crazy right now. 92.8. You told me he's a contact guy. The hard hit was 55%. Yeah, sure, the launch angle is terrible. Not terrible, but 7.4 is not good. The fly ball is low. It's a little bit all fields. Let me just check. What's the plate discipline? Only a 28.9% O swing. I just wonder, like, this can't be correct. His Z contact is 96%. So I don't know. Maybe I have to go to his game logs. But I just think Brian Hayes is a superstar by the numbers. We're going to need some of these statistics to disappear for him to not be an amazing player next season. Like, his Z contact is going to have to go from 96 to like 84 for him to not be amazing. The hard contact is going to have to be like just disappear. It's going to have to go from 55% to like 41% and flat for him to not hit 30 home runs. So I see a lot in Brian Hayes, so I continue to push him up. I'm going to be aggressive there. And see, this is where it starts to get the players before in the list we're looking forward to. It starts to get to like, I have to take this guy. You know, Jose Altuve. I guess, you know, DJ LeMahieu. But I will push up a guy, a Dylan Moore, a very, very old prospect in Dylan Moore. That's the wrong Dylan. I grabbed a Dylan Carlson. Dylan Moore, 28 years old. All right, Dylan Moore, you're in your prime. You know, it's time to do it. 6 feet tall, 200 pounds, prospect, a 40 future value, a 50 hit tool. Not great. But this guy, even with the speed of only a 40, just continues to take bases. How did he take 37 bases in single A? 17 bases in 2018. 11 and 12 over the last two seasons with the 90 exit velocity, What I like is the launch angle is 17% on a 44% hard hit. 36% hard hit. The fly ball's good. What is the zone contact here? 27% O swing, that's it? 82% zone contact with a 10% swinging strike? It's like, Dylan Moore is here, guys. Dylan Moore is an excellent option of late power speed combo to just suddenly do it in a pretty benign Seattle Mariners lineup. I've got to push a Dylan Moore up here. Carlos Correa, Austin Riley, JT Realmuto. And it starts like the guys I don't really want. The guys I don't really want, but I've got to push up. I've got to sort through. Jeff McNeil I'm okay with. I'm just going to mention Gavin Lux. Did I put the Gavin luxury tax up here? Not yet. Let's get him up here though. So I just, Gavin Lux, yeah, he didn't give it all to us last season. He was young. He's 23 years old. I thought he was only 6 feet. They have him listed as 6'2". 6'2", 190. A 70 future value prospect. 70, not 670. A 60 hit tool with a 70 game power and a 65 raw power with 55 speed. I mean, the prospect reports on Gavin Lux, why are they so absurd? Well, I mean, the WRC pluses are there. Yeah, he had a hard time in his first bid at the bigs. The exit velocities weren't there. The hards weren't there. I mean, is this a guy that the scouts just completely missed on? Are they just completely wrong about the Gavin Lux? Is there anything in the profile I can start to like? And then there it is, plate discipline. O-swing, past 2 seasons from 21% to 25%. The zone contact from 77% when he really struggled to 85%. Putting that bat to ball. We're going to want to see some of the contact come together, but I just want to have you get a Gavin Lux, pushing him way up. A Will Smith, I got him up. Because there it is. That's kind of the maturation of my list of the hitters and where I want to be. Because now I get to guys who I don't really want. I don't want to be at Paul DeJong, Didi Gregorius, and Marcus Semien for my shortstop starting. I don't want to be at Justin Turner, Brian Anderson, Gio Urshela, or Chris Bryant at third base. Whit Merrifield and Jake Cronworth, maybe. At first base, I'm getting a little bit of hype from a Bobby Dalbec at Boston. Evan White, I'm seeing some things in the numbers that I like more than where he's being valued. But then Carlos Santana, Christian Walker, Trey Mancini, Ryan Mountcastle at first base. Do you want that to be your... I'm trying to get us to win championships. You think you're going to win a championship with Christian Walker this season? I don't think so. So I don't really want to be there. But they're on my list. Charlie Blackmon, Andrew McCutchen, Michael Brantley, Dylan Carlson. And then it just starts to be middle of the pack. And of course, we've got to be good with these players when we're drafting late in a draft or late in an auction, filling out our teams. We've got to know who's who. But it's more important to me to keep being right, keep elevating that young upside. Speed is driving a lot of this stuff up. Let me see what else I had here. No sloppy outfields. We're not going to have a sloppy outfield where I got stuck. Let me name some names. What would look like a really sloppy outfield this season? Maybe like Castellanos and Starling Marte, and then you settled on like a Cole Calhoun. It's not going to happen. I threw Dylan Carlson on this list. They said he struggled last season. Let me get the other Dylan. Dylan Carlson, 22 years old, 6'2", 205, 60 future value. 55 hit, 55 game power, 55 raw power. The scouts see things they like. His BABIP was trash. His average was a 200. He had a terrible first go. The hard hit was 42. The launch angle, a little bit 9. Not great. What was the plate dis? Just going to give it to me here. 27% O swing, 81% Z contact. So there's a little bit of the underpinnings of him being very good, of him reaching the upside that a lot of the scouts projected him at. And that's kind of where I'm at. That's where I'm teasing it apart. The season's getting close. We're playing spring training games. Don't get distracted by spring training. Don't start freaking out and moving guys on your sheet just because they went 4 for 4 in spring training, because they're hitting against pitchers that aren't really trying that hard. We're going to move forward. This was the speed update. We got to do catchers, we got to do closers, and then I think we're ready for some live salary cap draft strategy action that I'm ready for. Let's win some leagues this season, boys. Holler at your boy. Shout out to all the new subscribers. Hit me up in the comments. Holla.